Michael killed himself after we broke up. And I was reborn in the year he was 19, back when he was still straight. The pain of our US against the world love story was too much to bear. So, in this new life, I decided to stay far, far away from him. But Michael became like a piece of superglue I couldn't get rid of. I couldn't shake him, couldn't scare him off, couldn't fight him off. He even managed to turn himself gay, no help needed. I was trembling with rage. But he just got more excited, his voice tight. Don't shake like that. I can't take it. I was calm when the police called me to identify the body. Calmly, I handled Michael's funeral arrangements. Calmly, I saw the guests off. Then, calmly, I went to the beach to watch the sunset. Our relationship had run its course, so I wasn't overcome with grief at Michael's death. I was just lost in thought and didn't notice my steps leading me into the ocean. As the waves pulled me under, I forgot to struggle. The dull throb of seawater against my eardrums hadn't faded, but my blurry vision suddenly sharpened. The sound of exploding fireworks snapped my consciousness, which had been floating beneath the waves, back to reality. My eyes flew open. The sullen, silent Michael from my memory was now standing in the middle of a crowd, making a wish in front of a cake. A 19 candle flickered on top of the towering cake. "Hey, what did you wish for, man?" someone asked. The 19-year-old Michael smiled, his eyes finding me through the crowd. His voice was light and happy, a sound I hadn't heard in a long time. "I wished that Evan and I would be best bros for life." "What about us? Only Evan gets to be your bro?" "Yeah, playing favorites. Totally. New friends over old ones." The crowd laughed and teased. Someone punched my arm playfully. Another pushed me toward Michael. My life flashing before my eyes. Was it always this realistic? "Evan, you gotta say something. We've known Michael for years and never gotten this kind of special treatment." Michael looked at me, his gaze full of expectation. There was no hatred, no indifference, just an openness that was hard for me to accept. I shivered and pulled a cigarette from my pocket. Ignoring Michael's disapproving look, I lit it with a click. I was just passing by, thought I'd crash for some free food. "So this is how easy it is to be bros with you rich kids? For life? Are you playing house?" My real friends were forged through blood and fists. I don't think you pampered trust fund babies would make the cut. With that, I sliced an ugly, jagged piece out of the perfect cake. "Evan, don't be so ungrateful. You should take a good look in the mirror, you bleached blonde wannabe. Without Michael, you wouldn't even be fit to shine our shoes. We're only nice to you because of Michael. Don't get a big head." I stuffed the cake into my mouth in 2 bites, scoffed, and turned to leave. I left all the insults and the pale-faced boy behind me. But after only 2 blocks, I couldn't hold it together anymore. I leaned against a wall and sobbed uncontrollably. I was really back. Back at 19 before our story had even begun. Last time, my answer had been completely different. I'd thrown my arm around Michael, calling him my best bro, and coaxed him into downing an entire bottle of liquor by himself. With ulterior motives, I'd taken the blackout drunk Michael back to his room. Instead of leaving, I used my own feigned drunkenness as an excuse to slip into his bed. The pristine, prince-like boy had no experience. He fumbled around all night, and the pain was so bad I passed out. When Michael woke up, he thought he'd taken advantage of me. He knelt by the bed, apologizing, begging me to let him take responsibility. I said, "Okay." And just like that, a straight guy who'd never even been in a relationship was bent by me. That was the source of all our problems. That thorny path was just too painful. This time, neither I nor Michael could make that mistake again. The cigarette in my hand had burned halfway down, and I instinctively moved to put it out. But the person who was worth wasting half a cigarette for was already gone. My fingers hesitated on the butt. This was a bad habit. I had to break it. It was a habit from my past life. I was a good smoker. I could blow rings in all sorts of shapes. But Michael hated it. Every time he saw me smoking, he'd lean in and kiss me. He said the look in my eyes when I smoked was too distant, like he wasn't there, and he couldn't stand it. I liked smoking, but I liked Michael kissing me even more. So I always smoked in front of him. I'd rarely get more than a few puffs in before he'd kiss me senseless. Slowly, I started never finishing my cigarettes. Even when Michael wasn't around, I didn't like to smoke them all the way down. I pressed the glowing red ember into my palm. One last time. Someone walked into the alley. I blew the ash from my hand, paying him no mind. But he stopped right in front of me. I had to dig through my dusty memories for a moment before I placed him. Tommy, Michael's childhood friend. In my past life, once Michael and I got close, this guy made my senior year of high school a living hell. Tommy looked furious. He swung his fist at me. I didn't fight back. My numb heart needed the shock of pain to start beating again. Do you have any idea how much effort Michael put into his birthday party today? You ruined everything. He was so unlucky to have ever met you. He paid for your grandpa's funeral. Do you have a conscience? I let him hit me, let him scream at me, my eyes downcast. But when he mentioned my grandpa, I snapped, shoving him to the ground. If you have a crush on Michael, go tell him. What's the point of taking it out on me? And for the record, I want nothing to do with you gay guys for the rest of my life. Stay away from me. I'd exposed the secret he hadn't even admitted to himself. Tommy sat on the ground, his face twisting in a grimace. Suddenly, he looked behind me, tears in his eyes. Michael, I was just trying to get him to apologize to you. I turned. Michael was standing a few feet away, watching us with cold eyes. From the looks of it, anyone would think I was the one who beat up Tommy. Same old trick. He used it on me all the time in our past life. I slammed my foot onto Tommy's hand on the ground and ground my heel into it. I'd taken enough of his crap last time. If he was so determined to frame me, I might as well earn the reputation. He punched me a few times. I stomped his hand once. TSK. I still got the short end of the stick. Tommy cradled his hand, screaming in pain. Someone shoved me away. I stumbled, grabbed my jacket, and brushed past Michael without a backward glance. The news that Michael and I had a falling out spread through the school. Already unpopular, my life got even more difficult. There were always footprints on my desk. My chair would be wobbly, and my tests would either disappear or end up torn to shreds in the trash. It was all childish stuff, but it was incredibly annoying. My test paper went missing again. Our homeroom teacher looked displeased. Evan, it's senior year. Can you please take this seriously? A 4-year college is better than community college, and even a trade school is better than dropping out. You should be studying, not sleeping in class all day. A wave of laughter rippled through the classroom. Tommy was shaking like an electric toothbrush, his hand over his mouth. I pulled my hand out of my desk. A row of bloody beads formed on my fingertips, pricked by a thumbtack someone had left there. I shot up, the metal chair scraping harshly against the marble floor. As everyone stared, I walked to the back of the classroom. Sure enough, my test with my name on it was crumpled in the trash can. In front of everyone, I dumped the entire trash can over Tommy's head. I owed Michael, but I didn't owe Tommy a damn thing. Tommy screamed, his desk mate scrambled away, and the teacher rushed over to stop me. In the chaos, I strolled out the back door. I spent the next week at Big Q's pool hall. At night, I'd watch the place for him. During the day, I'd study the freshman and sophomore curriculum online. I wanted to study, I really did, but my foundation was so weak I couldn't understand anything they were teaching at school. After seeing the last customer out, I pulled down the heavy metal shutter and started for home, my arms aching. A pale, slender hand shot out of the darkness and grabbed my wrist. I jumped, startled. When I saw it was Michael, I impatiently shook him off. But he stuck to me like glue, following me step for step. Evan, go back to school. I kept my head down and walked, saying nothing. If Michael knew I was going to be the reason his family was destroyed, would he still care about me? He wouldn't. He already gave me that answer in our last life. Is it because of Tommy? I didn't know he was bullying you. I already put in a request to switch classes with him. It's my fault for not noticing. I'm sorry. And I misunderstood what happened in the alley. I'm sorry about that too. Michael chattered on and on behind me. His classroom was in a different building, so he really wouldn't have known about Tommy's little games. Last time, I put up with it out of respect for their friendship. This time, I'd already dealt with Tommy's petty tricks myself. So right now, I had nothing to say to Michael. Every word we spoke was one more connection. I didn't want any connection to Michael. Seeing me walk faster, Michael got frustrated and rushed forward. In a few quick steps, he slammed me against the wall. I hadn't eaten much all week and was already exhausted. The sudden movement made my vision go black, and I stumbled forward. Michael was holding my collar, pulling me toward him. My lips crashed against something soft. I reflexively sucked on it, pressing my lips against it a couple of times before realizing it was Michael's mouth. A jolt went through Michael's body. A tiny electric current shot from my tongue to my brain and exploded at the top of my skull. The restlessness and unease that had been building since his birthday party suddenly had an answer. His long fingers tangled in my hair, holding the back of my head firmly. He pressed his lips against mine, slow but insistent. It went from a light, tentative exploration to a deep, possessive kiss, as serious as if he were conducting a scientific experiment. I was so breathless I felt like I was drowning again, seeing that deep blue ocean in my mind. Breathe. Michael tapped my cheek, pulling me back from the bottom of the sea and into the night. Our heavy breaths intertwined in the air. Michael cupped my chin, about to kiss me again. Once is an accident. Twice is a pattern. I punched him in the face. Get lost, I yelled. The punch snapped Michael's head to the side. He stood there, stunned, a dark shadow flickering in his eyes. I straightened my wrinkled clothes and shoved past him angrily. I finally reached a street with lights, and the presence of a few other people chased away the chill that had seeped into my heart. Delivery guys rushed through the night, street vendors put on fake smiles for customers, and a few thugs staggered around. Everyone was just trying to get by. So was I. I was just trying to find a life where everyone could live, a life that wasn't so suffocating. The thugs stumbled off in the direction I had just come from. A bad feeling crept over me. Michael was a good student from a wealthy family. He shouldn't have anything to do with guys like that. Besides, he just assaulted me. Better to stay out of it. Forget it. Just let it go. My mind was rational, but my feet turned back on their own. I'll just take a peek. If he's fine, I'll leave. I won't get involved with him. I kept my distance. But by the time I caught up, Michael was already in a full-blown fight with them. Michael was fighting for guys bare-handed. Seeing that a high school kid was putting up such a fight, one of them pulled a knife. Watch out. Forgetting everything else, I tackled Michael, and we rolled toward the corner of the building. The knife grazed his forehead, nearly scarring him. He's okay. Thank God. But why was there still blood? Through Michael's terrified gaze, I slowly lost consciousness. If my rebirth in this life had any meaning, it had to be for Michael. When I realized I was still alive, I was a little disappointed. My purpose for being reborn hadn't been fulfilled. I was once again a ticking time bomb planted next to Michael. You're awake, dear? Would you like some water? An elegantly dressed woman with perfect makeup leaned over me, her face beaming as she felt my forehead. She was a graceful lady, but the sight of her made me shudder. Mrs. White, Michael's mother. The last time I saw her was after our college entrance exams. Michael had a huge fight with his family after coming out to them. His father, furious, left for the office to handle some business. He got into a car accident on the way and didn't survive. I met Mrs. White at his father's funeral. She cried until she nearly fainted. Her thin, bony fingers gripped my arm like a vice as she screamed, demanding to know why I had to ruin her son, demanding that I give her back her husband. A few months later, she followed her husband. Michael had always been a good kid. The one and only time he ever acted out, it cost him his parents. 2 lives, lost in a river of blood, became an uncrossable chasm between us. Dear, is it okay if I call you Evan? I heard about what you're going through. If you need anything at all, please just tell me. You saved my son, which makes you half a son to me. Don't be shy. Mrs. White gently wiped my face, then used a wet cotton swab to dab water on my lips. She was so attentive, so kind. If I had a mother, she would probably be just like this. I closed my eyes, my resolve to stay away from her son hardening. The events of my past life clung to me like a ghost, haunting my sleep. One moment I was cold, the next hot. Then I dreamed of a massive, scorching python slithering over my body. I woke up in a clammy, uncomfortable sweat. As for the source of the heat, I looked at Michael, fast asleep, nestled in the crook of my neck. One arm was draped possessively across my chest, avoiding my wound, while the other held my waist, leaving no space between us. His leg was thrown over mine, too. This territorial posture made me incredibly agitated. I had deliberately avoided the birthday party that had changed our relationship. Why were things still ending up like this? Just as I was debating whether to wake him, the door to the room clicked open. I closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep. Mrs. White tiptoed in, checked my temperature, and then gently shook Michael. "Son, go back to your own bed. I'll call you when Evan wakes up." Michael hadn't slept for days. He'd finally drifted off, only to miss the moment Evan woke up. Now he refused to leave. Mrs. White sighed and relented. "Don't cling to him so tightly. He'll be uncomfortable." The severe lack of sleep not only filled Michael's eyes with red veins, but also shut down his brain. Facing his loving mother, the weight on his chest tumbled out of his mouth. "Mom, do you think a guy can like another guy?" A strange tension filled the small room. I dug my nails into my thigh, barely stopping myself from reacting. Mrs. White didn't answer. "Mom," Michael pleaded, his voice almost a whimper. I didn't have to open my eyes to know Mrs. White's expression must be grim. Time seemed to stand still. Finally, Mrs. White said, "You, come out here with me." I didn't see Michael for the next 2 days. As soon as I could get out of bed, I asked to leave. Mrs. White didn't try to stop me. She packed a ton of things for me, her words hovering on her lips, but in the end, she said nothing. When I returned to school, the story of my injury had been spun into a tale of me being a good Samaritan, standing up for a classmate. There was even a commemorative banner from Mrs. White hanging in our classroom. I had gone from a delinquent who skipped class and got into fights to a righteous hero. Tommy had transferred schools, and the kids who used to bully me with him all came to apologize. I stared at my clean, neat desk, feeling a strange sense of dislocation. My homeroom teacher called me into his office. "There are a lot of students in this class, and I admit I wasn't paying enough attention to certain things. But now that you're back, I want you to finish senior year properly." I just nodded repeatedly, my gaze on the floor, same as always. "Are you even listening to me?" My dismissive attitude clearly annoyed him. He rolled up a stack of papers and tapped them sharply on his desk. "I'm listening," I said. "Good. Then take the new transfer student back to class. You two will be desk mates from now on." I turned my head. Michael was standing behind me, his face a canvas of blue and purple bruises. "Sir, Evan won't let me tutor him. Sir, Evan won't join our group discussion. Hey, class rep, Evan won't cooperate with me." I grabbed Michael's hand before he could tattle again, sighing in defeat. "I'll do it. Just stop being a drama queen." Before Michael could reply, the student in front of us chimed in. "You've got the top student in our grade giving you one-on-one tutoring. Evan, you really don't know how good you have it." "Yeah, seriously." Michael shifted closer, his warm breath ghosting down my collar. I flinched and quickly scooted my chair away. "Then you can have this amazing opportunity. He's willing to teach, you're willing to listen. A match made in heaven." The student didn't pull any punches. "Unlike you, I don't need to start over from freshman year. You should probably just take the help." Last time, Michael had also offered to tutor me. Back then, I just whined and leaned on him a bit, and he dropped it. "If you don't like it, forget it. I'll always be here to take care of you," he'd said. But that trick wouldn't work now. I held my nose and plowed through problem after problem that Michael assigned. On the monthly exam, I went from dead last to the lower middle ranks. After slowly building up my foundation, I had a breakthrough on the midterms and shot up to the middle of the pack. The school praised Michael and me at the midterm assembly, even making us wear giant, tacky red rosettes and give speeches on stage. The last time I'd seen a flower like that, it was on a pig being led to slaughter. The ridiculously dated look caused a sensation. Students ignored the no phones rule and started snapping pictures. The most enthusiastic photographer was Mrs. White, who was there for the parent-teacher conference. She even started a trend of asking for photos with us. Mrs. White's attitude toward me was a little odd. Whenever she saw Michael and me in the same frame, her face would sour. When no one was looking, she'd pinch Michael and warn him to stay away from me. She didn't like him being near me, but she herself sought me out constantly. Sometimes at school, sometimes at my place. She'd bring soup she'd made or new clothes. She said my life had been hard, which was all the more reason to study hard. Focus on the college entrance exams first. Everything else can wait until after. I thought I understood what she meant. I decided to find the right time to have a talk with Michael and clear the air. Evan, I've been tutoring you for so long. Can I get a little reward? No. I haven't even said what I want. Still no. Michael inched his way over the do not cross line I'd drawn on our desk. His tone a mix of disappointment and frustration. Why are you acting like this? You laugh and joke with everyone else. But you're always so mean to me. We had a great time this summer, didn't we? You think my grandpa's death was a great time? I put down my pen and looked at him coldly. That summer was a part of my past I never wanted to revisit, even in this new life. My grandpa, the only family I had, passed away during the summer break. I was in a complete daze. I didn't know what I was doing, couldn't remember what I'd done. When I was at my lowest, Michael appeared. He took charge of my grandpa's funeral, pulling me out of the numb, spiraling chaos. Out of basic human decency, he took care of me for the rest of the summer. That's why I often thought, if Michael hadn't been so decisive back then, maybe I wouldn't have fallen for him. Fallen so hard that I resorted to such a despicable trick to bind us together. Michael was blindsided, his mouth hanging open for a few seconds. Shit, he swore, wiping a hand over his face. That's not what I meant. I went back to my work, ignoring him. Michael stared at me, his face dark. Suddenly, he kicked the leg of the desk, stood up, and stormed out the back door. The noisy classroom fell silent. The class president whispered, "Hey, what's up with you two lovebirds? Trouble in paradise?" He had an itch, I said flatly. The president was about to ask more when Michael came back. "You're doing this on purpose. You know that's not what I meant. You just want me to be angry. What did I do to piss you off? Just tell me. Okay? I'll change." I calmly wrote 2 words on a piece of paper, "Your sexuality." Michael froze. It took him a long time to weakly defend himself. "I'm not." Then what was that night at the pool hall all about? Michael was speechless. He sat there, simmering in silence for the rest of the study hall, which at least gave me some peace and quiet. When school let out, he blocked my way. "No, that's not it. You've been like this since my birthday. I must have done something to make you mad. It's not because of what you wrote." The guy who could give a speech in front of the whole school without breaking a sweat was now a nervous wreck, his fingers twisting the hem of his shirt into a knot, as if my next words held the weight of the world. I shook my head and spelled it out, leaving no room for doubt. "You didn't do anything wrong. It's just that on your birthday, I paid back the money I owed you. I just don't have to kiss your ass anymore." "Then why did you come back for me that night?" Michael pointed to the scar on my back shoulder, playing his last card. "It wouldn't have mattered who it was that night," I replied. "I would have gone back for anyone. Was that enough? Was it? Could Michael and I finally pass this crooked intersection and go our separate ways?" The next day, I walked into the classroom mentally prepared to face the full force of Michael's emotions. But instead, Michael handed me a thermos, his expression normal. "My mom made you soup. She wanted me to ask if you like it. If not, she'll make something different next time." The message was clear. I had to drink the soup, or I'd have to deal with Mrs. White. Why is Michael so nice to Evan? Feels like Evan can't stand him. He's his savior, duh. If someone saved your life, wouldn't you put up with their cold shoulder? 2 students walked past in the hallway, their voices carrying clearly into the classroom. The soup in my hands tasted bitter. Michael ignored the hurtful comments, but when I put down my spoon, he looked nervous. "You don't like it? The ingredients are all..." My mom specially picked them. The flavor might be a little bland, but it's good for your wound. Don't you have a spine? I sighed. Michael's face fell. His mouth opened and closed a few times before he finally managed to speak. I'm sorry. Did I make you mad again? A sourness rose from the bottom of my heart, making my nose sting and my eyes burn. The feeling didn't fade. By gym class that afternoon, it had festered into a heavy knot in my chest. Gym for seniors was basically a free period. As long as you didn't leave campus, the teacher didn't care what you did. I didn't want to go back to the classroom and face Michael, so I found a quiet spot to soak up some sun. A few minutes later, two girls walked over, holding hands and whispering. One looked shy, the other waved at me excitedly. Great. It was obvious that if I didn't get out of their way, I'd be roped into their girl talk. Seeing me get up to leave, one girl nudged the other. Hurry, go, or Michael will find him and you'll miss your chance again. The girl she pushed blushed and looked at me timidly, shaking her head at her friend. Evan, Linda has something to tell you. Seeing how timid the girl was, her friend just shoved her toward me and ran off. Now I was stuck. Linda was even more anxious than I was, her forehead beaded with sweat. She stammered for a while before suddenly collapsing to the ground, her face pale. Is she trying to pull a scam on me? I hoisted her onto my back and ran toward the nurse's office, asking a classmate I passed to go get a teacher. The girl had only fainted from the heat. She woke up before we even reached the office. After handing her off to the classmates who had rushed over, I slipped away in the confusion. You really are a good Samaritan no matter where you go. As I passed the equipment room, a force suddenly pulled me inside. It was pitch black inside the equipment room. Michael, you're pressing on my wound. Hearing his name, the pressure on my body eased slightly. Let me rub it for you. He lifted my school shirt, and his cool fingertips traced a path from my lower back upwards. Goosebumps erupted everywhere he touched. Stop it. Let go. No. A flurry of messy kisses landed on my neck, my earlobe, my nose, my lips. The more I struggled, the tighter Michael held me. Then he captured my lips, letting out a satisfied sigh. The 19-year-old Michael was clumsy and rough, zeroing in on all the places that made me react. It didn't take long for me to fall apart. I'm really getting angry. Michael supported my weak body, his voice rough and raw. Go ahead. You've always hated me anyway. At least this time I know why. I grabbed his arm to push him away, but then I heard our homeroom teacher's voice. Is that door moving? He was on the other side of the door. I could even hear his footsteps approaching. I froze, pressing myself against the door, afraid to even breathe. Michael chuckled softly, his actions becoming bolder. His hot breath traveled up my body. Don't shake like that. I can't take it. The doorknob next to my waist jiggled a few times. I clamped my hand over my mouth to keep from making a sound. Just the wind, the class president urged. Sir, Linda is waiting for us. The footsteps faded away. I slid down the door and collapsed onto the floor. Michael straightened my clothes, his voice husky, like a demon luring a mortal into a pact. Did that feel good? Disgusting. Liar. Michael was in a great mood. He leaned back against the door with me, our fingers intertwining in the darkness. Besides this, I can also tutor you, bring you food, or get you anything you want. Money, too. I can give you anything. Evan, I know if I say I like you, you'll just tell me to get lost. But I'm very useful. So please don't say yes to Linda, or anyone else. Don't be with them. You can use me however you want. Please? My body was weak and hot, but my heart felt like it had been plunged into ice. The devastating ending that had crushed us all felt like it was standing just a few feet away, watching my futile struggles. I forced the words out. Michael, come a little closer. A weight settled on my shoulder. I fumbled in the dark, cupped his face, and kissed him. I'd lived 2 lives. Handling a clueless kid was child's play. This was the first time since my rebirth that I had initiated a kiss. Filled with regret for my past life and guilt for this one, I kissed him with an intensity that crested in wave after wave of emotion before finally settling into a calm sea. I asked him back, did you like that? Michael was panting too hard to form a complete sentence. You're so good at... I pressed my thumb lightly against his bobbing Adam's apple, my voice cruel with a near-pitying edge. I'm good at a lot of things. I learned from my boyfriend. He loves it when I kiss him right here. Michael was a purist when it came to relationships. He couldn't tolerate a single grain of sand. In our last life, he was always insecure, needing me to report my every move, even when I went out for work dinners. That was part of why we broke up. It was our senior year of college. I was doing an internship, he was starting a business. We were both swamped, so busy we had to schedule time just to do things together. Yet the arguments became more frequent. He couldn't stand my boss. My boss was a young, successful guy who was really good to me and paid well. Other than always taking me to business dinners, he was flawless. One day, Michael was out of town on business. To avoid a fight, I didn't tell him about the dinner beforehand. The result was that just as my boss was helping my drunk off my ass self into bed, Michael came home early. They got into a huge fight. The neighbors called the cops. Michael and I had the biggest argument of our lives. You were practically naked. If I'd been a minute later, you two would have been sleeping together. You threw up? So you both had to get undressed because you threw up? Evan, just tell me the truth. How many times have you slept with him? Don't you dare say never. I'm not an idiot. What did that old man give you that makes you defend him like this? You love money so much. Did he give you money? How much? Was it worth the 2 lives I have on my conscience? The conversation screeched to a halt. Michael knew he'd gone too far, but he was too emotionally drained to take it back. He just looked at me, hurt and stubborn, waiting for me to comfort him. But I was tired. After that, I quit my job and broke up with Michael. He wouldn't accept it. He latched onto the fact that I hadn't told him about the dinner. I had no energy left to argue. I just stated a simple fact. We were a mistake from the beginning. Being together was painful for both of us. Breaking up was the better choice. Michael accused me of giving up while he was trying to build a future for us. He asked if I had wanted to break up for a long time. All I wanted was a clean break, so I admitted it. Evan, if I had known we'd end up like this, I never would have. I shut the door, cutting off the rest of his sentence. I never knew what he wouldn't have done. Wouldn't have met me? Wouldn't have gotten together with me? Wouldn't have come out to his parents? 3 days later, I got the call from the police to identify his body. I would never know the answer. The person who once dreamed of a future with me, who stood by me against the world, was gone forever because I had abandoned him. His pain didn't end with our breakup. It ended his life. Do I regret it? Yes. How could I have forgotten that? Besides me, he had nothing left. So, Michael, you have everything now. Please don't jump into this pit with me. But I had still misjudged the situation. The Michael of this life was very different from the last one. He kept bringing me soup and lunch. When I refused, he'd use his mom as leverage. He still went over my mistakes on every test. He took over my cleaning duties for the week. Even his relationship purism was gone. He was constantly asking me, "Do you really have a boyfriend? How come I've never seen him? Who's better to you, me or your boyfriend? When are you two breaking up? I'm calling dibs. Have you only had one boyfriend? You should give me a try. How will you know who's a better fit if you don't? Even kings had multiple wives in the old days. What's the harm in taking on one more?" All my defenses were like punching a pillow. I could only win verbal spars. We were together for 5 years. I would die for him. Michael's smile froze. His fingers unconsciously crumpled the test paper. Just when I thought he was finally going to snap, he forced a laugh and slowly smoothed out the wrinkled paper. I don't need to know how great your relationship is. Just let me know when you break up. Senior year flew by. In a flash, it was winter break. Then the 3 mock exams. Standing in front of the exam hall, I felt a little dazed. The SATs were already here. Could I do this? Of course you can. A familiar, elegant fragrance wafted over. Mrs. White, wearing a green cheongsam for good luck, placed a protective amulet in my palm. I went to the temple to get this blessed. One for you, one for Michael. You're both my children. Do your best on the exam. I'll be outside cheering for you. My nose tingled, and I leaned in to hug this woman who felt so much like a mother. Thank you, Mrs. White. Michael looked jealous. Mom, he's nicer to you than he is to me. Don't cause any trouble for me before the exam. Mrs. White swatted Michael into the exam hall. After the exams, Mrs. White invited me over to their house again and again. Her enthusiasm was so overwhelming I didn't know how to refuse. I finally made up an excuse about a graduation trip to get away. And then, on that trip, I saw Michael. The class president announced a welcome to our newest member, Michael. Everyone clapped and started gossiping. I knew if Evan was coming, Michael wouldn't be far behind. My ship has a post-canon life. Why are they still so awkward? I've already gone through 2 boyfriends. Why do all the hot guys have to be into each other? Linda looked at me with longing, the little flame in her eyes slowly dimming when she saw Michael. Michael stood beside me, cocky. Giving up after one little setback? What kind of happiness could you have with her? I rolled my eyes at him. He was the one who wouldn't give up, still trying to steal me away even though he knew I had a boyfriend. On the 3rd day of the trip, someone suggested playing Truth or Dare. Games like that, designed to create drama, sounded dangerous. So while everyone was debating the rules, I slipped out. I ended up at a bar, where I saw someone I hadn't seen in a long time, Tommy. He was surrounded by a flock of gigolos, so loud it was impossible not to notice him. Tommy had an arm around 2 of them, his voice carrying across the room. H-City? Yeah, I used to live there. But my family almost went bankrupt because of some bastard. Couldn't make it there anymore, so I had to come here. That bastard got obsessed with some parentless little trash. I was just messing with the kid, but he took it so seriously. I knew the guy for 18 years, and he threw it all away for someone he'd known for a few days. Tell me, isn't he a total bastard? But I got my revenge. I hired some guys to teach the little trash a lesson, and I ended up getting them both in one go. I heard the little trash still thinks he's his savior. The bastard? Oh, he definitely knows the truth. That's why he kicked me out of H-City. I left the bar in a daze. I always wanted to change things. I thought I could, but I never did. Everyone who was ever good to me ended up miserable. My grandpa was, and so was Michael. When I got back to the hotel, the party was in full swing. Evan, you're finally back. Michael was going crazy looking for you. He's drunk and passed out upstairs. We're all friends here. Could you go look after him? Michael and I were sharing a room. I swiped the key card and found him fast asleep, clutching a shirt I'd worn. A vein throbbed in my temple. This guy was really something else. The sound of me getting ready for bed woke him up. Michael stumbled out of bed, his eyes half closed. My little cloud, why did you leave me again? A chill ran down my spine. I grabbed his collar and shook him awake. What did you just call me? Michael rubbed his cheek against my hand. His eyes clouded with drunkenness. My little cloud. You're Evan, my little cloud. My wife. I slapped him across the face. Don't talk dirty. It wasn't a dirty thing to say. But in our past life, Michael always said it in less than wholesome situations, so I'd forbidden it. I rubbed my face and peeled the clingy man off me, stuffing him back into bed. My voice was hoarse. You're reborn. Too? I had a dream. We were together and I was happy. My parents died and I was unhappy. You left me and I was unhappy. I was so unhappy that I woke up. I swallowed hard, taking a long, deep breath. It's not real. None of it's real. We wouldn't get together. Mrs. White and her husband would live long, healthy lives. Michael muttered nonsense, his head in my lap. Remembering what Tommy had said, I couldn't bring myself to abandon this persistent drunk. While comforting him, I scrolled through my phone and saw an obituary in our class group chat. Our homeroom teacher had passed away. How? The old man had just called me 2 days ago, telling me to let him know my scores first so he could help me pick a college. How could he suddenly be gone? In my past life, he died during the summer while on vacation with his family at the beach. But he promised me he wouldn't go to the beach. The class president held me back as I started to get agitated. It wasn't the beach. A kid fell into the city moat. He went in to save him. The kid made it out, but he didn't. I felt that sense of dislocation again. Was the ending truly unchangeable? I quickly packed my things to go home. We couldn't see each other again. Michael and I absolutely could not see each other again. I went back to my family's old home in the mountains. There was no internet, no electricity. Getting supplies meant hiking over 2 mountain ranges. No one could find me here. As long as I wasn't with Michael, he would have no reason to come out to his family. On June 21st, I returned to H-City. Today was the day of Michael's father's car accident. Even if the outcome was fated, I had to fight until the very last second. I couldn't be a coward hiding in a corner, waiting for destiny to hand me my lot. At 3 p.m., it started to pour. In the last life, this downpour caused flooding and a massive traffic jam. Mr. White's car was stuck at an intersection when a sleep-deprived truck driver couldn't brake in time, causing a pile-up. I kept my eyes glued to the road. The moment I saw any sign of a traffic jam, I ran out to help direct cars. 3:45 p.m. 2 minutes until the accident. Traffic was flowing smoothly. 3:46 p.m. Every second was an agony. I called Michael. You didn't let your dad drive, did you? I had warned him before. Under no circumstances was Mr. White to drive this afternoon. You finally answered my call, Michael complained. Did you let your dad drive? I cut him off, desperate for an answer. He had an emergency at the office. I didn't let him drive. The driver is driving. I'm with him. It's fine. At that exact moment, the White's family car came into view. Shit. Stop the car. Fucking stop. The next second, from a side road, a red semi-truck barreled forward at a clearly illegal speed. On the main road, the light traffic suddenly clogged up as a small car started driving the wrong way. Blood rushed in my ears. Adrenaline surged through me. I watched the accident unfold before my eyes. I don't remember how many emergency calls I made, or how many times I screamed for help through a megaphone. My ears went deaf. My vision turned to black and white. The next thing I knew, someone was lifting me onto a stretcher. 3 fatalities, 7 injured. We've got 1 with blast injuries over here. My head lolled to the side, and I passed out. I thought I heard someone running toward me, someone calling my name. When I opened my eyes again, it was a familiar ceiling. Michael's house. Was I reborn again? What point in time was this? The attack in the alley? There was a dull ache in my back shoulder, but it wasn't as sharp as I remembered. I braced myself against the wall and shuffled into the living room. Michael was cooking in the kitchen. It smelled exactly like the soup he brought me every morning during study hall. Michael. I couldn't tell what day or year it was. You're awake? My dad's fine. They'll be back soon and then we can eat. Oh, that's good. Mr. White is okay. Wait, your dad's okay. Michael patted my head. What's wrong with you? You seem out of it. It changed. The ending changed. My ending with Michael changed. I was laughing and crying at the same time. I reached across the sofa, pulled Michael to me, and hugged my lover, who had never given up on me, with all my might. The stagnant blood in my veins started to flow again. The air returned to my lungs. I was alive again. Ahem, maybe you two should take that to a bedroom? In the middle of a passionate kiss, Mrs. White walked in, supporting Mr. White, whose head was wrapped in bandages. Remembering the earth-shattering drama of Michael coming out in our past life, I reflexively tried to push him away, even though it was too late. But Michael held my waist and wouldn't let go. Mom, you know how hard I had to chase him. Maybe you two could give us a minute? It was unheard of for a young couple to ask their elders to leave the room. Michael was promptly dragged into the study by his father. Mrs. White quietly came over and pinched my cheek. I always knew you'd be my son-in-law one day. Mrs. White, is it okay that I'm a boy? I didn't accept it at first. But for some reason, whenever I thought about you and Michael being apart, I'd get this terrible feeling in my gut. Maybe it's just fate. Anyway, I've always liked you, Evan. With or without Michael. You're a wonderful kid who deserves to be loved. My eyes welled up. If I had to describe how I felt right now, it would be, I miss my mom. At dinner, Mr. White suddenly spoke. I know you kids are young, But there are some things you can do during the day and some things you can't. Some things are okay for the living room, and some things should be done behind a closed door. I was so embarrassed I wanted to bang my head on the wall. But Michael just squeezed my hand under the table. I know, Dad. Today was a special occasion. When the college acceptance letters came out, Michael and I got into schools that were close to each other. When school started, we rented an apartment off campus. We bickered and laughed. Our life was so happy it was almost perfect. If only Michael wouldn't constantly bring up my boyfriend of 5 years. Didn't you say you learned a lot from that 5-year fella? My little cloud. Stop crying and teach your husband a thing or two. Once I learn, I can take care of you. I covered my eyes with my arm, refusing to look at the tormentor on top of me. But Michael relentlessly forced me to look at him, demanding I declare a winner. I don't know. All I know is that my little cloud would die for someone else. So that's what this was about. Michael, I wouldn't give up my life for anyone. I want to be with you for a long, long time. Yeah. Me too. Finally getting the answer he wanted, Michael stopped tormenting me and held me, falling into a contented sleep. The longer we were together, the more Michael's possessive nature came out. He had to check my phone, had to know where I was going. Even when I went shopping with Mrs. White, he'd call every hour to check in. With the experience from my last life, I adapted well. He was thinking of me, and that gave me peace of mind. Though sometimes I'd throw his old words back at him. What if someone's waiting in line behind you? You have to give them a chance, right? Even kings had multiple wives. I'm not the one losing out. Michael's hands would tremble as he covered my mouth. No, you're mine and only mine. If you were with someone else, I'd have to steal you away. But once you're with me, it's just me. TSK. Hypocrite. But his possessiveness scared Mrs. and Mr. White. Mrs. White privately asked me several times if I was being mistreated, and Mr. White secretly gave me an emergency contact number. I just smiled and said, Mom, Dad, every lock has its own key. Michael and I are a perfect match. After the holidays, they sent us off with worried expressions. A few days later, an express package arrived at their house. Inside was a collector's edition of The Good Wife's Guide. On the title page, written in strong, elegant script, were 2 words, "For my bun bun." It was Mr. White's handwriting. I had lived 2 lives, and this was the first I'd heard of Michael's childhood nickname. I laughed so hard my stomach hurt, holding up my phone to take a picture for social media. Michael stood in front of my camera, blushing, holding the book open to the title page. I don't normally take pictures like this, he said, but I can't say no to you.